What's going on, everybody? I hope that you're having a wonderful day, and depending on what time you're watching this, a wonderful evening. Thank you all for joining me, for taking the time out to watch this video. It is much appreciated. And the reason why I am doing a voiceover to start out this video is because when I was out in the field, it was far too windy, and it sounds like this. And it sounds like this. And, the reason why I wanted to make a video really was because I was at this location. Let me rewind. I was at this location because a couple booked me to photograph them while they were on vacation. They were visiting from Central Florida, and they wanted to have some photos to commemorate their visit to Western North Carolina, to share with their friends, with their family, and some memories to look back on. And I suggested this location. They wanted to get out in nature. I know this area pretty well. So we were supposed to shoot 10 a.m. I said, I'm gonna be there. Let me come out. Let me document sunrise. Get out a little early. Enjoy some time to myself. And while I was out there enjoying time to myself, there's some things that came to the forefront of my mind. Things that I thought about previously. I'm sure things that everyone thinks about who is really dedicated and passionate about the work that they do, right? And the things that were coming to the forefront were how photography, and specifically nature and landscape photography, has helped me grow as a person and improved my life, uh beyond just the professional realm, right? I mean, as a person, as a whole person. um and I thought, it's a good thing to talk about, to make a video about. And gives me an opportunity to share some of the photos that I took while I was here. So yeah, let's dive into it. The first thing that comes to mind that photography has helped me get a better understanding of is perspective. We all are inundated, whether it be through social media, whether it just be through just browsing the internet in general, or through news. We are inundated with negativity constantly. You're inundated with messages that make us compare ourselves to someone else or something else, right? And that can have a hugely negative effect on your emotional and mental state. It can be an enormous weight on your psyche. And that doesn't even speak about the issues that we have as individuals, right? That can seem insurmountable. And I think what nature and landscape photography has allowed me to do is gain wonderful perspective. This might seem maybe daunting to think about, but I think it brings a great deal of peace to my life, understanding that when I'm out shooting, when I'm out on top of a mountain that has been here for eons, for millions of years, that has seen everything, that has seen countless lives come and go on this spinning rock in this endless void of space that we are in. Once I understand that, my issues, the problems that I have, whether it be just anything, whatever I'm upset about, or whatever is bothering me, whatever is weighing on my mind, those issues don't seem quite as big once I understand where I'm standing at this point in time, and everything that's come before me, everything that is at this moment, and everything that will come after me. um, it it allows me to sort of take a nice deep breath, a sigh of relief, and allows me to focus on the things that I can control, not the things that are outside of my control. And I don't know if I would have that type of perspective if it wasn't for nature and landscape photography. So that's the first thing that I've learned. Let's take a look at a couple of photos that I shot when I first got there. So let's look at this first photo that I took when I got here. And, it's, if I'm being honest, I'm not completely sold or happy with this photo. Um, this was, I don't know, a composition that I thought would be better. The idea was to take it through here, and really what I wanted to do is capture this curve from a little bit of a higher position. I wanted it to be seen kind of from the top down a little bit more, and then it sort of feed out into here. Um, and I wanted these trees here, but the light wasn't hitting them exactly how I wanted it to. So I took the photo either way and worked on it still. But if I'm being honest, I'm not fully happy with this photo. Yeah, let's go. Let's check out the next one. All right, and this is the second photo that I took. And again, it's another one that I'm honestly not thrilled at. Um, it's really soft, especially in the mountains. Not what I thought it would be. And again, just the light wasn't hitting. I think early in the morning when the sun was first coming out, there were some low-lying clouds. It didn't really allow the light to spill out onto the mountains and onto the mountain valleys as I imagined it would. But again, just another one that I wanted to work on and mess with and edit. But not one that I said I'm really, really thrilled on. It's fine. I'm not mad about it. Never mad about getting shots. Never mad about working on photos. It doesn't really bother me, but it's just not going to be anything that I put on my website or really probably even social media. Maybe I'll put it on my Instagram as just like a little throwaway photo or share it in the stories. But yeah, just another one that I'm like, yeah, sure, fine. This is another one that's very similar to that first composition that I showed, but taken a little bit further back. Uh, Still kind of the same idea. I was really wanting to kind of show the curve of this trail. For whatever reason, I thought this post was interesting that it added some interest to it. Really, all it does is cut off this curve here at the top of the post there. The light's slightly better, but still, again, nothing to write home about. Um, it's fine. Again, nothing that I'm like thrilled about. I enjoy it better than the other photos, I'll say, but or the previous to that show. But yeah, nothing crazy. Something else that landscape and nature photography has helped me with throughout my life as a person and helped me grow with is being more observant and more thoughtful. You never want to go through life thinking that the way that you see things, the way that things affect you, are the ways that they affect everyone. That's just not the case. Um, and especially when dealing with friendships, with relationships, being more observant, being more thoughtful is just beneficial. And it's beneficial, let's look at it through a professional lens as a professional photographer and graphic designer. Those two skill sets help me when I'm dealing with clients, being able to approach the work that they want done, the problems that they're trying to solve from a more thoughtful position is just going to make me a better uh, creative to work with. It's going to make me a better designer and a better photographer for them to work with. That's just natural. But translating that to my life, it helps nurture relationships. I have friends that I've known for 20 years, some for 25 years. I'm 41 now. One of my oldest friends I met in the sixth grade, when however old you are in the sixth grade, 12. Another one of my best friends, I met her. We grew close when I was like 16 years old. I have been with my wife now for 14 years. Um, Being able to approach things from a more observant and thoughtful standpoint is key in nurturing and building foundations that help relationships last a long time. Uh, it's just always best to be able to approach things from an understanding, right? Like, I can notice a little bit more when my wife or when my friends might be off, and I can sort of have an approach that's thoughtful, knowing that, man, maybe they don't want to deal with a certain thing right now. Maybe they need a little bit of space, or maybe they need to talk about something, and I can approach it from a standpoint of keeping their feelings in mind. Uh, Being able to be more observant, being able to be more thoughtful is something that is just going to help me throughout my life. And I really truly think nature and landscape photography has helped that skill grow exponentially. Yeah, so let's take a look at some other photos that I took throughout the day. Okay, so this is the first photograph that I took this morning that I'm actually happy with. Uh, Basically what I did with those first photos, because the sun was just coming up, I shot directly into it. Hoping that as it came through the clouds, it would create some starbursts, right? Um, but as you saw, there were some low-lying clouds, and that didn't really happen. The light wasn't as good as I thought it would be. But as the morning went on, the sun got a little bit higher, got above those low-lying clouds, and it started to cast off a nice light into the mountain valley. So basically, I just turned my camera a little bit to the other side, to the other direction, and shot into the mountain valley as the sun sort of spilled into it. And it creates this really nice soft effect right here, which is needed during this time of year, even though it's, early spring. The higher elevations in the Appalachian Mountains don't get their leaves yet, so it's still stick season. So creating this really nice soft light is actually really pleasing for this time of year. Just like what it does, right? Just kind of being cast off and broken off a little bit by the mountains here, spilling right here. And yeah, just think it's super nice. Let's check out this other one. And again, with this photo, this is another one that I actually really enjoy. I switched out my lenses from my wide lens to my telephoto and got up close on the mountain here to just get a detail shot. You can see, I mean, we get snow in these in the Appalachian Mountains fairly late in the year. I mean, I've been out in May in the mountains and have seen it snowing. So it's not uncommon. But just to isolate this scene here, capture some of this snow that's left on the side of the mountain, and have the light kind of spilling onto it. I enjoy the minimalist sort of aspect of it. I like how it's almost halved, right? Half mountain, half sky. It's really soft light, something simple, something that I thoroughly enjoy. All right. And this might be my favorite one of this morning. Um, this is one that I really like. I just really, really enjoy the sort of minimalist nature of it. I like these little pops of green, and that's what drew me in, right? Like, got this big pop of green right here, a little bit of yellow and orange, a little bit of yellow and orange, some green yellow, some green green. And you have all of that amongst sort of the dormant trees, right? The branches of the trees that haven't had any life come back to them yet. Then you have the sun casting soft light off from the side, and that's really what drew me into this scene. Again, using my telephoto, just zoomed all the way in to isolate this, and being able to capture like a nice minimalist scene. Yeah, this is maybe my favorite of this morning. Um, all right, got some more photos, and I would say, let me rephrase. This is maybe my favorite of this morning at this location. We're gonna see some other photos that I caught a little later on, but yeah, let's get back to it. So to dive back in, something else that nature and landscape photography has helped me with in my life is gaining more patience. As a landscape and nature photographer, and just as a professional graphic designer and photographer who runs his own business, it takes a lot of patience. It can take a toll on you mentally. And if you're not a person who can deal with things, who can take a breath, take a step back, and think about things and have patience, you can sort of easily ruin your business and your reputation. Um, Sometimes clients don't always get back to you. I've been ghosted a lot of times by people I thought I was going to work with. Sometimes those proposals on projects that you were really looking forward to don't get signed. Um, Sometimes the projects that you are working on don't always go as planned. And all of that takes a lot of patience. And also within nature and landscape photography, right? Sometimes you go out for sunset or sunrise. Sometimes you're out thinking that the weather and the light are going to do certain things, and that doesn't always happen. Especially where I live in Western North Carolina in the Blue Ridge Mountains and the Appalachian Mountains, going up into these higher elevations, weather changes on a dime. I've seen storms rolling out of nowhere, clouds rolling out of nowhere where they weren't predicted. Um, so you really got to be patient to deal with those conditions, especially if you're really expecting to get a certain kind of shot and the weather isn't doing what you want it to do. You're going to have to come back, man. You're going to have to deal with that. That takes patience. I mean, I know I've sat around, think the longest I've sat to get a particular shot, just a single shot that I had composed, was over an hour, just waiting for clouds to come over mid-afternoon to block the sun and filter that light. So the composition was evenly lit. Sat for over an hour just chilling. That takes a lot of patience. And that patience I've learned through nature and landscape photography has been directly implemented into my life. As I said before, I'm married. I've been with my wife for a total of 14 years now. We've been married for 9 of those years. Um, to grow and to have a foundation that leads to a successful and lasting marriage, you need patience. And that's with any relationship in your life, right? Like, people aren't always going to approach things how you want them to be approached, right? You get into arguments, right? Like, your friends sometimes frustrate you. Your partner, your spouse, sometimes can piss you off. um, you have to take all of that in stride and have patience to be able to deal with those things. Otherwise, man, you're gonna be looking at a lot of disintegrating relationships if you don't have the patience to deal with issues and problems as they properly should be dealt with. Um, and I truly think that nature and landscape photography has helped me with that. Yeah, let's take a look at a couple of other photos that I got, and we'll get back to it. Okay, so this is a photo that I'm actually happy with. This is something that I took after I left the trail that I was on the AT, on the Appalachian Trail, and was on my way back. I've seen this a couple of times, and I wanted to stop and get a photo of it. This is a location that I'll probably get back to. Honestly, I would love to photograph this during during a rainstorm, during a thunderstorm when it's a lot more gray, maybe even early in the morning or whenever there's fog. Um Around here, I would love to get this and pull out a little bit more. But I'm still happy with this shot, and this has a cool story. I'm trying to draw from memory. I didn't look it up before I recorded, but this is Tiny Chapel. You can see St. Jude's Chapel of Hope. Everyone welcome, stop, rest, reflect. It's open all the time. It's really cute on the inside. I didn't shoot on the inside just because the light it's really dark. See the nice stained glass that sort of obscures the light. But the person who built this, there's a property on the side of here, just off frame to the right here where my mouse is. But the person who built this is a survivor of cancer. I don't know exactly what kind of cancer that they had. So I don't want to give any false information, but they are a survivor of cancer and built this as a sort of to commemorate St. Jude's Hospital. Think it's super cool. I love the moss that's growing on the roof here, right there. I just love this scene here, and I'm happy with this photo. Next time I go back, like I said, I really want to capture this in some rain or just after some rain, while the ground's wet, and would love to get in some fog and just have it a little bit wider of a shot. Let's take a look at the next photo. Okay, this is at the same location as that previous photo, as that tiny chapel. It's just to the right of it. And again, I enjoy this photo. This is the Plum Nilly Farm house. I think from what I could see, didn't really see too much online about it, but I think it's like like almost like a rest house, almost like a hostel for people hiking to AT. That's what I could find online for it, but even if I look up Plum Nilly Farm and specific to the area, gives me something else that I think is in northern Georgia, which this isn't, this is a couple of hours from northern Georgia. Um, but yeah, I enjoy this composition again, like the other one. I would love to photograph it during a storm, in some fog, get a little bit wider. It might be a little trickier to get wider with this one because you can even see there's some gravel road right here. Um, and yeah, you get a little bit more of this sky up top. That's why I would like to get these in some fog, maybe even change my position. If I shift my position to the right of this angled, there's a road and there's like an outdoor store and restaurant. I imagine people were doing the AT and people were coming to the area to hike. But yeah, I enjoy this photograph here. Something else that nature and landscape photography has helped me with that's translated into my life is a fairly obvious one for anyone who does this, but that is fitness. Um, as a professional graphic designer, photographer who runs a business, a lot of my time isn't spent out in the field shooting. It's spent right here in my office at my desk, writing contracts and proposals, invoicing people, answering emails, editing the work that I have to do. doing administrative work, all the things that help keep a business running. That's where an overwhelming majority of my time as a photographer goes to. And without nature and landscape photography, I don't know if I would make the time to focus on fitness. And doing what I do as a nature and landscape photographer allows me to get out on trails a few times a month and be active. Um, on a low day, a short day out shooting, especially if I'm just going to shoot sunrise, like I did the morning of the photos I took that I'm showing. Um, just doing sunrise, something like that. I don't know. I hiked about 2 miles um, in total. That's a really low end day. On average, I do about 4 to 5 miles on a trail. Um, and on a good day, I would say maybe about 30% of the time, I'm doing somewhere like 6, 7, 8 miles, sometimes 9 to 10 miles on a trail. Um, that's me getting out, using my legs, strengthening my back, strengthening my core, getting out, enjoying nature, getting some fresh air, and practicing landscape photography. And that's keeping me fit. That's, time spent um on my health, exercising that I don't think that I'd otherwise make the time for. Uh, and not just be a little lazy baby bum sitting on my desk or at my desk on my chair, just toiling away, aging rapidly, slowly decaying. But that's something that landscape and nature photography helps me avoid. Let's look at some other photos and share the last thing with y'all. All right. This is a photo that I'm super happy with, man. Like, the sun's pretty high up, this point in time in the day. You see sort of the dappled light coming in on the grass and hitting the house. And yeah, man, this is just properly eerie, properly spooky home. I love these vines that are growing on the side of the house. Yeah, man, there's nothing really that I would change about this photo here, man. I love it. Again, really, if I had my choice, sure, maybe have it in some fog. But honestly, I like the way that the light is hitting it. This early afternoon light is sitting in this house in this scene. Let's take a look at another one. This is the same home, same location, same scene, just shot from the other side. And decided to make it black and white. I thought that this would look good in black and white. I shot it in black and white in my camera, added some grain to it in camera, and yeah, I just really was really liking this home. Again, just the vines growing on the side. Yeah, kind of the roof caving in here. If I was, you know, worries aside from what I said before, maybe if I was a bit braver, a bit more of a brave boy, I would have gone inside to see what it looks like. But not doing that, especially if I'm by myself, man. Not doing that. But yeah, I just really enjoy this, man. It's just this old brick chimney here. Reminds me so much of the home that I grew up in. Granted, I'm from South Florida, uh, born and raised there. The home that I grew up in was a very old home built in the late 20s, early 30s, and it had a fireplace, a working fireplace. And I'm old enough to where the late 80s, early 90s, winters were chilly enough down there to where we used the fireplace a couple of times a year. But yeah, I just really love this scene here. Here's the next image of this set that I took at this location, and this is one that I really enjoy. I'm not really a big car person. I don't really care about cars, but I have an appreciation for classic cars, for classic vehicles, and I just have an appreciation for Jeeps in general. And I thought this scene of these vines, these this bushier sort of overtaking this Jeep was something super interesting. I shot this wide open to have a nice little shallow depth of field, just focusing on this front grill here where although the vines are sort of centralized and letting it fall off as it gets further towards the back. Shot it low at an angle, um, got in close to it just to emphasize it, give it a little bit more weight and power within the scene. And yeah, man, this is just something that I really enjoy, something that I love. All right, this is the last photo that we're gonna look at, and I'm gonna talk about this photo while also touching on the last topic for this video. It all sort of ties into it. And yeah, let's take a look at this photo though. Yeah, this overall, this might be my favorite photo of the day. I just think it's a strong composition. Has good flow from front to back. Tells a solid, cohesive story, and just really like the lighting, really like the tonality of it. Just my favorite photo, strong composition. And yeah, man, I got my f-stop uh down small enough to have everything in focus here. Really emphasizing the Jeep in the foreground and allowing it to sort of be on the opposite side of the home in the background. So just having them sort of meet in this middle here was something that I really wanted to capture. Having the foreground, the right side of the frame filled with the Jeep, and then the background on the left side filled with the house, and just allowing them to meet ever so slightly right here in the middle. Yeah, man, just love this composition. I think it's really strong. The last topic that I wanted to touch on, relating to how nature and landscape photography has helped me grow as a person, is facing my fears. Um, as I mentioned with this set of photos here with the abandoned home, I would have gone into it if I was a little bit braver. I like to make sure that I play it safe. I said, emphasize this again, third time. I'm married. My wife does worry about me and really wouldn't want me to go inside that home. But, you know, relating to it even more is being able to face my fears. Um, I have lived for most of my life with a really strong fear of the dark. Started when I was a child for as long as I could remember, as young as I could remember. I've been afraid of the dark. I grew up with parents who didn't really censor what me and my brother watched, what we consumed, as long as, we learned good lessons, as long as we didn't take away the wrong sort of messaging from what we were watching or consuming or listening to, they were fine with it. They didn't really censor us. So, growing up, we watched a lot of horror movies, and my mom is a huge fan of horror movies, big Stephen King fan. Um, as my phone buzzes, I don't know if you're able to pick that up. Should turn this off. Regardless, let me not be distracted. Um, Regardless, though, my mom being a big horror movie fan, a big Stephen King fan, I was like 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, watching things that I had no idea, or really, not no idea, no business, I should say, no business watching. I'm talking about Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, the OG Halloween movies, the OG Candyman, the OG Alien, watching The Thing, watching X-Files as a kid, which if you watch that first season, the first two seasons of X-Files, man, there's some prim stories on there. Just consuming things that maybe at those ages shouldn't have been watching. And that played a huge factor into me developing a fear of the dark. Plus, having an older brother who took every opportunity he could to scare the crap out of me, um, that fear of the dark followed me well into adulthood, man. Like, well into my late teens, 18, 19, being 2021. As I got older into my 20s and lived alone, there was a little bit of tension still with being afraid of the dark. As I got older, it got better. But what's really helped it is being a nature and landscape photographer. Having to go out and shoot sunrise or shoot sunset and knowing that I'm going to have to hike through the dark if I want to get these shots. I think has really helped me face that fear. I also think that having an end goal in mind, I need to get to this location before the sun rises, or I need to get here before the sun sets, sort of helps detract from that fear of the dark, from that fear of the unknown. It has really helped me as I've grown. It has helped me really face that. And, being able to face that fear of the dark, something that's overwhelmed my mind, my consciousness for so long in my life, has helped me face other fears. And yeah, that's something that I think is a direct link to being a landscape and nature photographer. Yeah, those are the topics. Those are the things that I think photography, nature, and landscape photography has helped me with throughout my life. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and let me know some things that, whether it be photography or something else that you're passionate about. Let me know how those passions have improved your life. Leave a comment below. Share that with me. I'd love to hear. Um, and, until next time, before I sign off, one thing I'm going to try and do is figure out a regular schedule with these videos. It's a little tough, being a solo business owner, and being married. I like to spend time with my wife. I enjoy spending time at home, but I'm going to try and figure out a regular schedule for these videos. But until then, I definitely appreciate you all rocking with me, watching them. And yeah, until next time, hope y'all have a good day. Stay safe. Much love. Peace out.